I want to go over how you guys can utilize these new wizards. These are going to be publicly available starting Monday, June 10th. So if you're watching this as a recording and it's past June 10th, this is what you should be seeing now. So just to kind of get started, I wanted to make sure everyone understood how to get to the Juice Cloud. Now, I know that's should be obvious for some of you, but if you go to juicetech.com and just hit sign in, simply, it's just that. That's how you're going to get to the Juice Cloud. You may see if it's been a while since you've been here, we have some banners on the right, and we have the ability just to sign in. If you can't sign in or you don't have access, just forgot your password or register for access. That's the easiest way to get in. But with that said, I already logged in on the right here, and I'm just going to show you guys a few different setups from my own personal account. Now, what I have done today to kind of demonstrate this is I used the new Quickbase AI builder, and I just made a really simple case management application. Now, what you're going to need to get started with any of our add-ons is a user token. So I just want to make sure you guys all understand how to get to a user token. And then with that said, I'm also going to use this as an opportunity to show you guys how to change the new Quickbase UI. As that just got rolled out through Empower, I thought it would be a pretty cool way to show you guys the old UI and then also revert that to the new UI so everyone can know how to do that, because I actually didn't know how to do that until this week. But if you're in your application, you may see your name in the top right corner. So hi, Matthew Tillinghast, and you're going to click My Preferences. From My Preferences, you're just going to go to hit Manage My User Tokens. Now, I'm not going to click that now because I already have it, but this is where you're going to go right here to generate a new user token, and you're just going to give it access to the application you'd like to install our add-ons in. Now, of course, you want to make sure you have admin access. So if you're just a user or in a specific role that's not that does not have privileges to add and edit tables in Quickbase, then you may want to consider having maybe your supervisor or like a service account like Quickbase at Acme Corp make that user token. It's usually best for governance anyway. But as you can see here, like I just mentioned, if we want to go to that new sidebar navigation, you can click this and jump right into that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And you're going to see some things change. And now we have that new sidebar navigation. So I would love to hear your guys' feedback on that. I think it's pretty cool. It's going to definitely open up the screen quite a bit as you are able to move this over to the left. You get a much bigger view of whatever you're looking at. So I'm excited to jump into that more. And we definitely have a lot more videos planned to come out for that.
Yes, for sure.
So we're excited to get that going. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into one of our first installations. So you can see here, I have just my standard tables. I have clients, cases, tasks, quotes, and quotes items. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add our document generation add-on, Exact Forms Plus. I'm going to add one of our brand new e-signature add-ons, JuicedSign. And then I'm also going to add one of our bread and butter add-ons, PDF Merger. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to the Juice Cloud. And you can see that I'm in my Tillinghast account. And I'm going to go open up this tile and I'm going to hit authorize new application. So what you guys are going to see right now is you're going to see the new Super Wizard, and you're going to see just a quick preview. You can see the last couple digits, I think last 6 characters of the existing user tokens I have available. So if you guys have done setups before, you'll see all of the available user tokens, and you could just simply click which one you want, and then you could hit next. What I'm actually going to go ahead and do is I'm going to enter a new user token, and I'm just going to paste that in right here. And it took a bunch of other nonsense. If you ever see that, take that all out because that's going to break things. But once you put that through, it'll take you to the next slide where you're able to do the application information, which it just lists out all of the applications that are available under that user token. So this one just has case management. I'm going to click right there. Something you may have seen in the old wizard is you actually had to click on the little bubble. You can make it a little bit easier now. And when you hit next, it's going to go to the setup type. Now, this is where things may be a little bit different from those of you who are legacy clients or have worked with us for a long time. We used to have multiple tiles. So we had Exact Forms Plus, and then we had Exact Forms Plus Batch Processor. We've combined that into one tile, one cohesive tile, where you can do both the single document generation and the bulk document generation. So Exact Forms Plus has always been including both of those add-ons. Now it's just, it's all within one wizard as well. So it makes life a little bit easier. So if clients have questions on what they're trying to be setting up, you could always hit this little plus sign, and it's going to give you a brief breakdown of why you would choose single document versus why you would choose bulk document. Now, I do want to say, especially for folks who may be watching this in the future, if you just stick to the default values, it's probably going to give you a pretty good setup out of the box. So if you just decide not to change anything and just hit next all the way through this wizard, we've set it up where it's intuitively going to give you what we believe kind of a default setup would be. And for a lot of clients, that's exactly what they're looking for. So if you're ever confused, you could either A, hit need help and click here, and that'll take you to our help site. Where we'll go through and explain exactly what you need to do, what each field means, or B, you could just follow along right through. So I'm going to go hit next, and it's going to give me some options on what table I want to set this up for. So you may want to go back and look and see your available tables. Obviously, I just made this application, so the AI builder gave me some sample ones. But what I'm going to do for document generation is I'm going to put it onto quotes, because that's a place where, obviously I want to be generating quotes. So I'm going to select from my available table. I'm going to choose quotes. And then I have some other options here. My output file type. This is something, of course, you can change in the future. There's no issues with that. We have a little help text. What file type will be generated with Exact Forms Plus? Pretty self-explanatory, but it's either PDF or docx for this example. So I'm just going to leave it as PDF. And then it's going to ask me, do I want to use a standard sample template, which is one that we provide you, or if you wanted to upload your own source file, your own template, and that's going to have to be in docx format. So I think that little help text will give that to you as well here, but I'm just going to use the standard template. Now, what you might see that's different from the old wizards as well is we have advanced settings. Now, these advanced settings allow you to do more of the setup rather than having to add the parameters yourself in the back end. So after you've done the installation. So for any of you guys who have kind of some additional parameters, where I'm navigating right now in the Exact Forms Plus formula URL parameters, you may have added something yourself, like add files or some of our Amazon S3 parameters, where you have to come in and manually edit them and add it to your formula after the fact. We now give you the option to set all that up right away. So you can see when I click that bubble, we now have Amazon S3 account setup information as the next step in the Exact Forms Plus setup. So I think that's a really great improvement, because clients don't need to come back in and make changes to their buttons. They could actually upload all of their S3 information automatically, and you don't necessarily need to get involved with a Juiced representative. So just as a proof of concept, when I hit next, I just want to show you what this next screen is going to look like. For Amazon S3, as an example, we then will help capture your Amazon S3 access key, secret access key, and bucket. So when you generate documents with Exact Forms Plus, it's not going to save into a Quickbase file attachment field. It's going to save into your Amazon S3 bucket, where you'll be able to have access to it and whatever other apps are being used in your ecosystem. So I just wanted to show you guys that quick, but I'm going to go ahead and hit previous and just go to none. And now you see that this button goes to finish. And I'm just going to go ahead and finish this. This is going to be our standard Exact Forms Plus setup. Now, as this is kind of loading through, it's going to tell us what tables were added and what fields were added to that new application. But out of curiosity, just want to take a second, since I've been doing all the speaking here. Does anyone have any questions on what I just went through? If you've used our wizards in the past, it shouldn't be that big of a jump, but I do want to give you guys a couple seconds if you have a question. I'll take silence as a good thing, personally. But it's pretty intuitive here. We give a pretty clear congratulations message that you've done everything successfully. As a note, if there was an error, which there's a small chance, of course, that could always happen, we do lay out an error message here, so you'll clearly know. In the past, we've had just kind of like a red line that says like error. Now we kind of give you an error message that you can provide to the Juice support team, just in case that there is something that went wrong. Or if it's a common error, we give you exactly what that might be, like permissions. So we built that in now, so you could potentially self-serve yourself even better, even if there was a problem. We also give a summary of what exactly happened. So we added these fields to the quotes table, and we have a link to the quotes table here. So these are all the fields that just got added, and here are all the tables that just got added as well. So if I wanted to jump back into the quotes table, I could either hit this, where it'll jump right in for me, or I could, of course, if I was already logged in, just go right to it myself. One other thing you may notice here is we do automatically generate the EFP batch processing arguments now. And that is part of the single document generation version. And that's why we wanted to include it, because with the triggered version of batch, technically you're generating one singular document based off of an action or a change to Quickbase. So we do give you instructions kind of on how to make a Quickbase email notification to trigger this off so you can make the conditions yourself. That's one thing new as well that I wanted to point out. So I can close this out, and when you hit refresh, as it always has, you'll see that this application has come up in your bar. So we can see case management as one of my new authorized applications. So in the future, if you wanted to set up another table, you can kind of come in, hit set up another table, and you'll be able to skip the first few steps where you're doing the authorization. Now it's just asking you, do you want to do the single document generation or bulk? Because of course you might want to come in after the fact for a bulk setup as well. I'm not going to go through and complete that, but I just wanted to make sure you guys were all aware that once you authorize the app, you can set up as many tables within that application as you want. So maybe as well as quotes, you might also want to have it on clients or cases or even tasks. So you want to have the ability to come back in and do additional installations. Now, as you can see, we do have the two tables that got added. We have document templates and document subtables. For anyone who's used our add-ons in the past, that's our, really our document generation homepage tables, really. That's where you're going to want to go to make any changes to your source files, to your templates, what fields you're referencing. And you'll also see that we have all of the fields that got added to the master table. Now, they're all shown on this report just because this is a brand new application, but you can also just come in here and move them around as needed. Now, I'm not going to go in and jump into all kinds of form editing and stuff like that right now. We're going to save that for other office hours. I just wanted to show you what the end result was when you did the wizard setup. So that's Exact Forms Plus. And now I think we're going to go ahead and jump into JuicedSign. So,
hey Matt, before you jump in there, I just wanted to, for those of you who are familiar with our batch processor, it really helps you, generate a document automatically. So instead of clicking the button to say create document, we now give you the ability to fire it based on some action that takes place in your table. So we thought that it was a good idea to add that to this setup. So because we do have a lot of customers come back to us and say, hey, I don't want to click the button anymore. I want it to actually fire the document generation process when something happens in my table. So that's why we did that. Now, those extra fields that Matt's showing here, that's what was added to work with the batch processor. You can certainly just hide them from the form. I recommend you don't delete them, just hide them, because you'll probably want to use them at a later date. But we actually did that extra step of giving you more during the setup to so you don't have to come back to us or ask that question later on. How do I do it automatically? So it's already there. You can hide it so it's dormant, and you can just activate it whenever you want to. And the only extra step you have to do is create the email notification that Matt pointed out while he was in the wizard, and that process or the steps to do that is in our help site. So we just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to re-point that out, that we're doing a little bit more in the setup now besides just creating the buttons to generate it by clicking. We're actually giving you the ability to use the Exact Forms Plus batch processor right from the start.
Exactly. And like Keith said, we do lay out everything you need to do in terms of creating the email notification to have success with that. It's quite easy, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just make sure that the conditions are unique to you, of course. It's your workflow, your use case in Quickbase. So whatever you feel is the need to trigger that off, that's what you should do. And, and you will just reference that batch generation arguments field, which for any of you guys who have worked with our tools before, it's actually very, very similar to what we have behind the button. It just doesn't have that web page behind it. So you saw there what the difference was. Here is, we're just hitting this URL. It's really the biggest difference is these three lines here. Everything else is virtually the same. So it should be not very foreign for you guys. Happy to help as always, though. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, please always feel free to open up a support ticket or just reach out to us. With that said, though, I'm going to jump into the JuicedSign Wizard. But before I even do that, I hope you guys like the new format, new fonts, new colors. We tried to stick to our own colors here. We had previously had the Quickbase purple, and I said to Keith I was going to do this, and I had completely forgot. But if I just log into our current wizard, just for reference, so you guys can see what it's like right now. Many of you guys have probably already used this in the past. Most of you guys on this call are existing clients, but if I were to go into Exact Forms Plus right now and hit authorize new application, this is what you guys are seeing today. So you can see it's a pretty big difference. As you go through this, there's quite a bit coloring wise, font wise, but the kind of the actions you're taking, the steps are really all the same. But we wanted to show, just for kind of reference, what you guys are seeing today versus what it is now. So we're pretty excited about it. It's cleaner. There's a lot of minor bug fixes in the background as well. Just ease of use, we feel, is much, much better. So thank you to the man in the wizard hat. You obviously made this much, much better, and we're really excited about it. And I think you guys are all going to find it immensely beneficial to you as well. So with that said, let's go into one that might be a little bit more complicated. Exact Forms Plus is pretty straightforward for the setup. JuicedSign might have maybe 1 or 2 different steps. So we'll go in and we'll authorize a new application for that as well. Now, one thing that you're not going to see right now, and Dylan, this is why you said I should make a new account, which I probably should have, is I'm not going to be showing you guys making a JuicedSign account with this as a prerequisite step. If you guys are a new JuicedSign client, if you guys have never used this add-on before, you will be making an account with our JuicedSign portal. So you'll be making kind of your own email address with us that has like a certain prefix. We have videos on that as well, and there's future office hours that are going to be coming out for that. So I'm not going to go through that step. I'm just going to go through authorizing a new application for it. With that said, I don't know why I have the wrong one going up.
You might need to log out and log back in.
Right, that's what I get. With that said, how about I do this? Don't do 2 things
And you
at
need to go
once.
to the beta.
Thank you, Mr. Wizard. So I would have just moved forward without doing that. All right. It doesn't anticipate people switching between beta and live, to be fair. No one should be doing that. That's better. I could tell already. All right. So now we're back to the JuicedSign setup in the new format. As we did before, we have all of our user tokens that are available. Since I just updated that new user token, I do have it available here. So I'm going to use this last 6 digits, as I know that's the correct user token for the case management application. Something that you may see is we have authorize only, no setup, and we have upgrade setup. Now, I know we have upgrade setup for Excel docs as well. Dylan, is there an upgrade for any other add-on? I'm not sure if you know that offhand.
I do, of course. So Excel docs and JuicedSign are currently our only add-ons that have an upgrade setup feature. We are planning on adding other ones down the line, but there's just not really much of a need right now. DocuSign is one that comes to mind, but the way that upgrade setup works, I'll steal your spotlight for a second, Matt.
Please do.
Is that, as time goes on, we develop these add-ons to do more, and sometimes we will need more fields to be created on your Quickbase application. So what upgrade setup will do is that it will read the application, assuming that it already has that add-on set up in the first place. It will tell you if it doesn't. And it will, the wizard will then figure out what fields are missing and what fields have to be changed, if at all. And it will go through and do all of those updates automatically for you. Something just to, note for yourself is that anything that has a formula in it, we will not touch, just in case, one of your users had modified the formula to do some custom business logic. So we won't touch that. But in the case of JuicedSign, when you're doing the recipient tags,
right,
you'll have like different tag types. We'll go through and add the new choices. We'll add new fields, stuff like that.
Right. And
So
I
it's
think
pretty much
that's
structure.
important.
It's basically structural changes rather than let's say formula code type changes.
Yeah. And in addition to all that, when you set up a new table in your app or you know, add a new setup, we'll also run through that upgrade process then. But if you don't want to set up, you know, the new like a whole new JuicedSign setup and you just want to do the upgrade, that's when you're going to use this checkbox.
Great. Thank you for the explanation, because that's something new. You know, for those of you who have used these wizards in the past, you've never seen upgrade setup before. So I wanted to make sure we touched upon that. That's why we're choosing to show JuicedSign as well, because I knew that that was an option. Obviously, since this is a new setup, like we said, that we do want to make these tables, just to kind of jump back to the case management application. We might have the document templates table and the document subtable, but we don't have any of the JuicedSign tables. So we're going to install those now.
Hey Matt, what's a reason why someone would use authorize only, no setup?
That's a great question. If you were to copy your application, so let's say you had a case manager 1.0 application, and for the new calendar term 2025, you wanted to copy your application, so now you have case manager 2.0. You already have all of our add-ons set up in them, but they're not authorized. When you do that, you don't want to generate new fields. You don't want to do a full setup. You're going to want to hit authorize only, so that on our end, we see that you're eligible or, you know, allowed to use our add-ons because you are paying for it, you're subscribed. And that will just authorize it so that the next time you go to click it, that application will be able to run it successfully. That's the number one reason in my head. I'm not sure if you have another one, Keith.
Nope, that's it. Because I think it might be confusing for people, but it's definitely when you copy an app. Sometimes when you're testing too, if you don't have a sandbox, you might copy an app just to do some testing, and then that app's not authorized, so you get errors. So you can just come into the wizard, go authorize a new app, click authorize only, and you don't have to do anything else, and then it'll work. Because what we do is we add that authorized app to our authorized apps table, and it'll be good to go.
Right. And, you know, a lot of times you don't want to redo all the work you've already done on your existing fields. You don't want a new template or anything like that for Exact Forms Plus. You just want to continue using what you already have. To clarify, upgrade setup would be for existing installations. Yeah, one. So for example, if you had JuicedSign and JuicedSign version 5.0 comes out in the next couple of weeks, there may be new fields or some new choices for recipient tag types. You would want to do the upgrade setup so you don't have to manually add those yourself. You can just let the wizard do it all for you, so that any option that you might not have yet is now there and you have the latest and greatest. So that would be my opinion. You don't need to do it for new setups. Two setups is going to update with the latest and greatest anyway. Yep.
I'll also butt in really quick. If there was no upgrade to happen, then it will let you know, like, hey, you were already on the latest version. And if there are any other additional steps, like with JuicedSign, there are a couple possible other steps that you need to take. It'll also let you know what to do in those cases.
Now, Shane, did you go onto the beta? Yes,
He's cheating.
we do know that the need
Yes. So the need help goes to our help site, and currently, because this is not public yet, all of the help site pages for this are not public. So they are there.
Is there a slap hand emoji on that? No? All right.
Yeah, we didn't tell people not to be fair. So that's funny. Yes, right. I actually was aware that that was not going to work, so I purposely did not click it. But you are right. It will take you to new latest and greatest help sites. So we kind of have screenshots of all of these steps laid out, so that you can see, you know, the latest UI rather than seeing our old UI. So we're excited for that as well. The help site will be getting a much needed facelift for that, as this all around is getting a major facelift. Yep, absolutely. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and hit next. And now it's going to take you to the JuicedSign setup portion. So it should be very, very similar to what we did for Exact Forms Plus, obviously with just some uniqueness to JuicedSign, as these are different add-ons. So to select table, I'm going to go ahead and click quotes again, because we did just do an Exact Forms Plus setup. And I know from experience that when you have Exact Forms Plus on a table, it actually does pair really well with one of our e-signature tools. So in this use case, JuicedSign, I'm able to choose that EFP document field. Now, if you read this, it says select a field that has the file to be signed. Of course, it's only going to show the file attachment fields in that table. So that EFP document field is where we're saving the generated exact forms plus document to. So we're going to want to use that as the field we're sending out for e-signature. If by chance you don't have one already, or none of the fields that you have are there, we're going to give you the option to create a field, of course. But we're going to use exact forms plus here. A lot of people have asked me in the past what the prefix is. For some reason, if you wanted to have maybe like a JT in front, or if you wanted to have some sort of label so that you knew that all of the JuicedSign fields are kind of paired together, so that when you wanted to search them, you could just search by that prefix. This will prepend some additional text to the names of the fields so that you can find them easily together. And that's typically the number one use case. And I believe this help text also useful if you want on the same table more than one time. That's true as well. Also one thing that I will point out is the help text is much better now. It actually tells you what it's going to do, and we have help text for almost everything, where in the past we might have had a couple things with help text in it and not everything. So this should eliminate some questions for you guys. Next, you'll see record ID of the document template. For those of you who have done setups all the way in the past, you may have found it frustrating where we make a new sample template for you guys when you already have your document template in there. So rather than doing that, we do give you the option to choose what document template record you want to be sending via JuicedSign. So I know in this example, we only have one document template record, and that's our sample from Exact Forms Plus. So we're going to be using just record ID 1 in this use case. So I'd put 1 there. But let's say it's, record ID 25 is the 25th document template you made. You would just throw 25 on there. And that just might make it a little bit easier, less manual work in the future. What you'll also see here is we have the ability to then choose the signers. So we have two different signer types for JuicedSign. We have where you email it out. So you will be, sending JuicedSign via email to first signer, or you can have it be captive. And what captive is they're going to be signing right in the screen, kind of as if they're signing off right on Quickbase. That is, typical if you were to have an internal signature as the first signer. And then for the second signer, if I would add another one, you could have that be email, so that then that gets emailed to them as they're likely not there in person. So that's your two options there. Then you can, of course, select the name of the signer. So client first name might be what you want to do. Maybe it's, whatever it might be, just typically a text field. And then the field that contains the email address. Now, the AI builder made this for me, so maybe I don't have an email address here, but I should. So I can just create a field and name it. Maybe I just email. Maybe it's something that you should have gotten through a relationship from clients. Of course, this is just a out-of-the-box application. Most of you guys already have existing applications. Same thing here, might be second signer name, something like that. And I'll just do another one here, second signer email. Once you have that, you can go ahead and hit finish. Of course, it does look like we have the option and even a third signer. Do we, Dylan?
Up to 5.
Up to 5.
I think. Don't quote me on that. It might only be 4. Press that button a couple times. Let's see what happens.
4.
Up to 4. And then, of course, you can use that red X to get rid of the signers that you don't need.
Great. Yep. So that's a nice addition there. As many of you have use cases where it's not just going to be 2 signers or 1 signer. You might want to have 3 signers or 4 signers. So we just want to give you the option to have that be created for you through the wizard rather than having to manually edit it yourself in the future. Again, once you do all that and you're happy with it, you're going to go ahead and hit finish. This is going to go through, run some API calls, and make those new tables and fields as well to the case management application. So give everyone a second again. If there's any questions on what you've seen so far, any questions on JuicedSign or Exact Forms Plus in general, it doesn't necessarily need to be about the wizard. Happy to take those. If not, I will take you guys being quiet as you're all learning, which we all love.
While we also wait and stare at this loading screen. JuicedSign and DocuSign do take a little bit of extra time to set up. There is a lot of structure that we have to put into your application for these two add-ons to work.
But without further ado, there they are. So as it did with Exact Forms Plus, it does here as well. You get your congratulations message, and you get the following changes were made to the table that you selected. So we have some fields added to the document templates table, as JuicedSign does have a need for JuicedSign recipient tags on the document templates table with a relationship there. And then you can see all these fields got added to the quotes table, and these are all utilizing JuicedSign in a different way. And then created tables are the JuicedSign management, JuicedSign recipients, and JuicedSign recipient tags. Now, everything's got a purpose. So if you guys have any questions on what any of these fields do or why we created them, please let us know. We do have, of course, office hours and help sites on what our preferred like form layout is, but it's totally up to you. With everything in Quickbase, it's custom to your own preference. So I'm going to go ahead and hit refresh here, and you guys will see we have the 3 new tables that were added. And if I go back into my quotes table, you'll see that we have an abundance of new fields that also got added. Now, a lot of you guys might have it where you take these fields and they don't automatically get added to your default report. Totally up to you. Everything just got added here though for now. And, for today's office hours, I'm not going through kind of what do you do next, but those will be included on future office hours and future playbooks, where we're going to show you guys exactly how to take these fields then and have a completed output, kind of a completed e-signature workflow with Exact Forms Plus in JuicedSign, or possibly Excel docs in JuicedSign, PDF Stamper in JuicedSign. So that's all going to be available to you very soon. But just wanted to show you that all as well. All right. Very good. So that was the JuicedSign setup. And again, as I was mentioning before, it's going to now come up on your authorized applications. So you have your case management, and you could always set up another table. If you ever wanted to have JuicedSign send out maybe from the client's table as well, maybe there's a client agreement that you guys want to send out, which is a different use case. You can then set up all those fields on a separate table as well. Or as it said with the prefix options, maybe you want to do it to the same table again. Maybe there's a different reason or a different place you want to have JuicedSign on the quotes table. The workflow, the use case, the business process, that's totally up to you guys. We don't want to limit you there. So we want to give those options to you.
What's that JuicedSign account settings?
That's a good question. That was one of the things that I skipped in the beginning. Hopefully it's nothing silly. Okay, nothing silly here. Yeah, so we have the ability to look at your email prefix. So this is individual to every single JuicedSign account. So for those of you who are using JuicedSign right now, you kind of already know this. You are able to have your own email prefix per company, and then individual users for each company too. So you can kind of see what their alias is. So my sending name, the company name I put as my last name, and then I had the alias as Matthew. But if we had the email prefix as Acme, for example, it would be acme.matthew. And I think for us, Keith, what did we have? Juiced? I think it's juice.matthew for us actually
so.
sending. So if you guys have received a quote from me or potentially another agreement from me, you have probably gotten it from juice.matthew. That email prefix, like I said, is unique to every single client. So if you guys have any questions on that or what are available, please let me know. Some of the, I guess, most popular names may have already been taken, like contracts or quotes. So don't look for those. But if it's your own company name, it's likely still available. And then, you can also have your own landing page URL. So that's one of the unique things about JuicedSign is when people are finished signing, you could have them redirected to your own landing page, whether that be your company homepage or potentially a Quickbase form where they have to add additional information. You could always do that. You can change your default reminder delay and frequencies. And then, of course, you can add more users. You get up to 5 out of the box. So that's those settings. Again, if you guys have any questions on that, please feel free to reach out. But I do want to show you guys just one more add-on while we're here. We have PDF Merger. And PDF Merger, one of the reasons why we want to show you guys this one is this is actually a brand new wizard as well. This has only been available for the last month or so, maybe a little bit longer. But this is something where you guys may have not used it in the past. So I'm going to go ahead and hit authorize new app for this one. Again, same workflow as you guys have seen. Choose my application. And now this is where it gets a little bit different. These are the PDF merger steps. So we're going to select the destination table. So kind of where are we saving this to? So in this use case, maybe I want to keep it as quotes. And the file attachment we're going to use, we're going to take that, maybe we'll take that signed document. And we're going to do either there's two different PDF merger setup types. So we have the configuration app or we have the query setup. So the configuration app allows you to just simply select a field and a record that you want to be merging from. Maybe it's something consistent. So you have maybe a documents table or like an attachments table that you just want to grab the same records, the same fields every time. That would be a good use case for a configuration setup. But
Hey,
if you're
Matt,
gonna,
I'm sorry, Matt, just sorry to
Yep.
jump in. The selected destination file, that's
Yep.
probably going to be a new field.
Okay.
Because you want to basically maybe take a couple of files, put them together in a brand new field. So
Correct.
And then I'll also jump in. A really common use case or a good way to understand the configuration setup is that, let's say that you wanted to make like a brochure or something where you knew that your cover page or a couple pages were always going to be the exact same document. That's where you would use this, where you know that you have this portion of a document somewhere on Quickbase. You can grab that exact same document every time.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Something that's more static, for example. But why you would have the query set up, you would now, Dylan, is the query builder in here?
Why, yes, it is.
So
You
let's
just
say
can't see it yet. It's magic.
it's magic. All right. So let's say we wanted to have this come from, I don't think there's going to be anything in the cases table. Let's do clients. There it is. Okay. So if we wanted to build a query, so something that we have available now too is we have something called a query builder that's been included in a lot of these wizards. So anything where you're building out a query, so PDF merger is an example of that. QB maps, I know, is one that we use it often for. Dylan, what other examples? What other add-ons?
Excel docs.
Yeah,
Excel docs,
all
that's
of
a
the
big one.
document generation add-ons can use it in the bulk mode. You already said merger.
Yep. And
We're
then
on merger.
maps.
You already
Yep.
said maps. I
Yep.
think that might be it.
Well, for those of you guys who have used Quickbase for a while and you're familiar with the Quickbase report conditions, we built kind of a query builder that's going to help you select kind of what fields or query what records you want to return back. So you can use any example here. So maybe you just want to bring back all files where the date created is on or after, let's say, June 1st, for example. And then you also want to have the date created is, or let's do something different. The email address is not blank. Value blank. That would allow you to say, okay, I'm only going to return these records. And now this is very powerful because you can really change a lot here. You can bring back a lot of data too that you don't mean to bring back. So you want to make sure that these conditions are exact, almost like you're building a report. Because if you want to bring back, a list all, that might not be the best use case for PDF merger, unless maybe the list all only has 10 records or 20 records, 30 records, 100 records. But if you're bringing back a list all of 10,000 records, that's not what you're going to want. You're going to want to query that down so it's only bringing back exactly the file attachments that you want to include in that setup. And then, of course, if there was a file attachment field, then we might need to add a file attachment field.
Yeah, this does not have add capabilities because the assumption is that if you're making a query, you already know that you have the file attachment on that table. If we need, or if there's enough request for it, we can add the create a field option, but it doesn't really fully make sense with this use case because if you create it on the first tab, then how are we going to let you select it on the next tab as well?
That's fair. And to be also fair, this is just an out of the box app. I doubt this is going to let me finish though. Right.
Yeah, you can go back to configuration setup and do it like that.
Correct. There we go.
While Matt is setting this up as well, another thing to note with the query builder inside of the wizard is that we modeled Query Builder to be almost one-to-one with the Quickbase report builder or filter builder. We don't know what they call it. So whenever you're building a report, you'll see more or less the exact same interface. If you want to build a report first to see what records it might get back in Quickbase, you can then build more or less the same exact filter or query in our query builder in the wizard.
Yep. And not to spoil any other surprises, but we do have an out-of-the-box query builder where if you wanted functionality like that, where you can then copy the query and use it for maybe something like pipelines, for formula queries, or for any of our add-ons, we could potentially give you guys a utility that will use that right within your Quickbase application, something that you could possibly have executed from your dashboard. So if you're interested in something like that, please feel free and let us know, as that is kind of readily available as needed. But as you can see, again, we got our congratulations page with the fields that were added to the quotes table again.